Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Steam Forward podcast. As always, I'm your host, Savannah, and today we have a familiar face, and that is Dilcia Muñoz, and she's here to share some background about forest bathing as well as nature art. So please help me welcome Dilcia.
Steam Forward podcast.
Well, hello, Dilcia, and welcome back to the Steam Forward podcast, as I like to call you, Miss D. And last time you were here with your sister, and we were talking all about fitness and nutrition because you guys are the Fit Sisters of Miami. And so one very integral part of GEN2050 is mindfulness. So with this practice of forest bathing, you are certified, and I don't want to mess up the title, so let us know what the title is.
So Certified Nature and Forest Therapy Guide.
Right. Okay. So before we dive into what you're actually guiding, let's do some background knowledge because people may not even know what forest bathing is. So what is forest bathing?
And usually when somebody says forest bathing, like visually you're like, oh, someone's in the bathtub or in the forest.
Yeah.
It sounds wonderful. That's what I imagine. And although that sounds fabulous, it's very simple. What it is immersing yourself into a natural environment and just letting yourself be, just connecting with nature, but giving nature a good amount of time.
Right.
Because usually everything's very rushed. You know, we live very busy, hectic lives. We're from point A to point B and here and there, so, a lot of people will say, oh, I'm outside all the time. I'm always around nature. It's not the same,
right?
When it's intentional as when you're doing forest bathing.
Right.
So when you're forest bathing, then you're intentionally going into a natural environment for, let's say, about 2 to 3 hours.
Right.
And really just immersing yourself and taking in the natural environment through all of your senses. Because usually we're not activating all of our senses.
Yeah. So when you say natural environment, I think it can be kind of confusing because it's forest bathing. So I don't necessarily have to find a forest to do this practice.
No, you don't. And also when you think of forest, when people think of forest, they think, up north.
This giant place. Yeah.
Really, it's just anywhere where there's a lot of trees.
Yeah.
And here we're in Miami. So, we don't have massive forests like we do in the Everglades, but not really ones. The closer ones that we have are smaller parks.
Yeah.
We have beach, a lot of parks on the beach that they are forests of trees. Because right by where I live, there's a park that's 10 blocks long where there's just a bunch of sea grape trees, and that's a forest right there. So it's about changing your conception of what you think a forest is. It's just wherever you see a lot of trees, wherever nature, is around in abundance.
Right.
Away from a lot of the buildings and cars passing
noise,
by. Just try to really. That's why they say immersing yourself in nature, because we try to be in an environment where we're not so distracted. So one of the things I love that I learned through reading about forest bathing was a term that they use, soft fascination.
Okay.
And I love that because they say that when you're in nature, there's a lot of just soft fascination. You don't have to force your attention. When we live the city life. Anywhere you live is the city life in Miami. So there's traffic and there's signs and there's this and there's that. You always have to be paying attention where you're going, what's happening, the signs, and reading this. And it's stressful.
Yeah.
It's a lot that's coming at you left and right.
Yeah.
So when you're in a natural environment, you don't have that. It's what is called soft fascination. The things that attract you is whatever is fascinating you in the moment, organically.
Yeah.
That's why you just release, let it go. What I tell a lot of people is release all expectations when you are spending this time with nature.
Yeah.
Just let yourself be.
Yeah.
And then whatever needs to happen is going to happen within you. And then as far as the health part of it, that's happening automatically.
Yeah.
Because as I always talk about the health benefits and just simply being outside, think about it, nature is everything from the food we eat to the drinks we drink, medicine to heal our wounds and cure our illnesses, to materials to build homes and instruments. It's everything. It's the ground that we walk on.
Yeah.
It's us. We're a part of nature, and we're just, as times advance, we are disconnecting ourselves more and more from the source.
Yeah.
That makes us healthy.
Yeah.
Because being outside is giving us all of these nutrients and minerals that our body needs. Everything, just simply as everyone knows that the trees clean the air that we breathe. So simply being around somewhere with a lot of trees, imagine that fresh air that you're breathing in, and it's just purity, so that alone. But aside from that, there's an array of other benefits that come along with it. And I can go on and on. I won't let you talk. So many things that I love to talk about because it is fascinating. It's soft fascination. It's really fascinating to understand what's happening inside your body, because it's we know nature's good for us when we're outside, when we're in a natural environment. We just feel good when we're on the ocean or in a park, in the breeze and under the sun. That's something everybody enjoys. One of those things,
right?
Whether you're looking at the ocean or staring at a mountain or whatever it is, we know it makes us feel good,
right?
But to understand the science and everything behind it, what's happening inside your body while you're enjoying all these things, that's amazing.
Yeah, I would say, because you talk a lot about senses and that you're a guide. So if we were to go right now out to the garden or wherever, and we were going to do just maybe we don't have 2 to 3 hours, but we have 10, 15 minutes. Because you talk a lot about senses, what would that guided tour look like for us to focus on forest bathing?
So usually and I'll give you, because I think it's important to go through the structure of what it is.
Yeah.
Typically as a certified neutral forest therapy guide, how it is. So what we do, and I could do it in a short 5-minute.
Right.
What it is we do an introduction to the land. So you always want to respect the land where you are and learn about it. Yeah. Say, where am I at? Who was here before me? And learn a little bit about it wherever you are. And I love that because I love history.
Yeah.
So, and about where we are, where we live, so that's always really important. And then you start off with something that's called pleasures of presence. And we do that a lot in mindfulness. Yeah. So usually I don't do it with our students because they already did that.
Yeah.
We start off the day doing that, but it's about dropping it. So I feel like in this moment is where you help people get into the moment.
Right.
And really
let everything go.
Yeah. And just kind of start there. So once you do the dropping in and just walking them through the breathing, releasing your body, all those things, then that's when you would go on a walk. Hey, if you only have 5 minutes, go on a 5-minute little walk. If you don't have somewhere to walk, then sit somewhere. There's something called a sit spot.
Yeah.
So
that's what I usually do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Pick your sit spot, somewhere where you're just going to sit down and just take it in. And as you're doing that, you're already going to be activating all of your senses.
Yeah.
Because when we don't have the distraction of our technology and our phones, then it's going to automatically happen. Yeah. Because there's so much that's happening around you. And when you're not distracted, then you take it in, which is usually why they say, just spend a little time, because it takes a little time for us to kind of release that clutter in our minds. You know how it is, and it's okay if you're out doing your nature walk or having your forest therapy time. If your mind wanders, that's okay. That's normal. It's about having the awareness to just reel it back in. All right, let me bring it back in. And so that's why also actually in the forest therapy walk, so we would go on a walk and then there's things called invitations. So then the guide will give a prompt. And those prompts will be something as simple as pay close attention to the different colors that are around you. the textures. If you're somewhere around water, then spend time with the energy of water.
Yeah.
Or it's just quick little prompts like that. So that helps the person kind of focus too, because if you're on your time and then you start to wonder like, I'm hungry, what am I going to eat? And you're like, oh yeah, that's right, nature. Let me look at the colors around me. All right, let me look at the blue sky. And it brings your attention back to where it needs to be.
For sure, yeah.
And then with time, then you won't need a guide, but it's about having these little cues and all of these different things that you can do on your own. So then, with pleasures of presence, you do your walk along with invitations is what they're called. And then you can gather in a circle, after and share what you experience. That's always nice. And I'm not much of a talker in a circle. Sometimes I'll get inspired. But it's okay. Not everybody has to share. But what it's nice is sometimes to hear what other people experience. And then that really inspires you.
Yeah.
Opens up other things just by listening to different perspectives. Yeah. So the sharing circle, as uncomfortable as it might be, it's very effective. It's very useful for a lot of people to get more into it, get more into the zone, and it helps them along that way. And then, so after the walk, one traditional thing, and you don't have to do this every time, but if you can, we like to do a tea ceremony. So you would gather herbs from the forest, but if not, then you just have your tea waiting for you back.
Or like from Whole Foods or whatever.
Exactly. I like to do the natural juices, right? A refreshment, something light and fresh. So, and then have a refreshment, and that kind of just seals the experience, it connects you with the land. Because typically you would gather from the land and then drink and consume from the land. And pour into the land. So it's a beautiful experience. Once you do in that structure, then it's like, wow, it's an experience.
Yeah.
It goes from just like a walk where you would do on your own. Because you could just get so lost and distracted,
So true.
But then when you have this pattern that you can follow, then it turns into an experience.
Yeah.
And once you feel more and more comfortable with that, then you do it on your own. Then it turns into a lifestyle. Because that's the idea. Is for these walks and this time with nature to be a part of your lifestyle because we need it so much. And not only physically with all the health benefits and all of that, but it's also mentally, emotionally, we need to connect and being out and away from electronics and screens, it's going to give us more clarity.
Yeah.
Of focus. Sure. So many great ideas that you get when you just let yourself be, you're not so caught up in all these other things, and that only comes with time. That's why, my big thing is spend time with nature. And I always say, schedule it, schedule nature dates. That's what I do. We have to schedule it just like we schedule doctor's visits, which we don't like going to. So this is like a doctor visit, and it's not painful. It's enjoyable. And you get holistic care. So it's like scheduling your doctor appointments or scheduling anything, just like we scheduled this podcast interview today. You schedule a nature date, with somebody or even with yourself. I go on a lot of nature dates by myself. Yeah. Because that's the best, and for people that are very busy, it's the best because that's when you can plan. You do a lot of planning. You get really creative. It's just so many ideas, and you can really just become more productive on whatever you do.
Yeah. I will say, speaking to like what the students get out of it, from what I've observed, like with forest bathing and even mindfulness, is that I think what happens is because we don't take time to reflect on our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, how we feel. I think what I've noticed students benefit so much is they feel so validated in just having a moment to say, well, maybe right now I do feel anxious, or right now I do feel worried, or I felt that way. And since I took this moment, I don't feel that way anymore is what I love the most. And like the circle you said, and when they do share and then they hear that even adults are going through the same emotions and feeling as them, I just hear a lot of good reviews about forest bathing and mindfulness, specifically from students more than adults. And I know what students like to do. They like to draw pictures, or they draw poems, or write songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some fun stuff this summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna be doing some musical poetry.
We love that.
We've done poetry a lot after the
Mhm.
nature walks because it inspires you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an activity I've done with them before, but now I want to add in some beats and some music and do some music.
They'll love that.
poetry.
They love
I know,
making
I'm
music.
super excited. Super excited, and yeah, when you're out, taking that time to yourself, you do get a lot of these emotions
Yeah.
that you want to express. And, they're teenagers. I've been there. I was a teenager.
Yeah.
That had a lot of all the same stresses and struggles and heartbreaks. Because, I've been married for 18 years, but before my husband, I had a lot of heartbreaks. I had a whole lot of heartbreaks. And really, writing was my release and a form of therapy.
It truly is.
For so many things. Not only the heartbreaks, but also just any issues you go through in high school. Imagine you're dealing with so many people all the time. And there's so many different scenarios that happen in your life. And if you're like me, I like to kind of hold things inside a little bit. I don't have to talk too much about my problems. I kind of just, so that's why I really love to encourage for the students to release their thoughts in writing. And do it in a creative way. If you want, you could just write down. It doesn't even have to be creative, but if you can get creative with it, how amazing is that? And I found myself drawn to poetry through the heartbreaks. It was the heartbreaks part in the poetry. But once I don't know, it just became poetic, and then I was like, wow, I would just flow with it. I'm like, hey, this is what's blossoming from this pain. So let me just go with it.
So true.
And that really helped me through so much.
Yeah. I think that it's also this idea, because we are so busy, when we do feel the feels or we're going through something, we don't even have a moment to stop and analyze, to think about. And I think that when you're in forest bathing, you now have this moment like, hey, you have 10 minutes. You feel this way. Now let's see, why do I feel this way? How come I feel this way? Okay, so now how can we get over this feeling? I think you just have time to reflect.
Yeah, and it's beautiful to see too when you can take something, if it's a negative emotion, whatever, and then turn it into something beautiful.
Absolutely.
By writing something, then you're like, wow, that's, and then you feel better.
Yeah,
you
always
like,
do.
I'm over it now. I wrote this poem. All right,
or sometimes you look back, you're like, ooh, that was real embarrassing.
Yeah. But you feel better, just because you released it. That's really important, so that's something I'm excited to have a little fun with this summer, that, so because we're going to be, outside in a great place. So, I'm hoping that would inspire, them to get creative. And aside from the art, physical art that we do. Yeah. But music is art, so that's why I like to manifest that in so many different ways, because nature inspires art in so many different ways. Yeah. And art is everything. Everything. So I want them to be able to experience and explore different things, because what might be for one person might not be for the other. If somebody might draw more to the painting and the drawing that we do and physically building things, or others might be more into music, and that happened last year. Because remember, we did the maracas. We painted the maracas.
Well, a lot of them with their avatar buddy, they all created music. A lot of them created music.
Nice.
Yes. So like on the platform they did with Pastor David, I don't know if they used Scratched or if they used another platform, but they used their avatar buddy because they have to create a game or something. A lot of them created beats. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we could use some of those beats this summer.
A lot of them did. I was shocked. I was like, okay.
I would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So speaking of nature, so one of the other many hats you wear for GEN2050, you also do nature art with the students.
Yes.
So what exactly is the process behind creating art with nature?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a fun experience because nature is the boss. I don't know what I'm going to create. You have to go with the flow of what is happening around me. Really, because I gather whatever the land is offering to me at the moment. Yeah. So Last year, we did the art with the seed pods of the Royal Poinciana tree.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the maracas. So the full ones were maracas. And then there were open ones, which was amazing. The texture that it had inside. And that's actually what caught my attention was the open ones. And I was like, wow, that's beautiful. You know, and I wanted to just take it and do something for my house. But then when I saw so many were falling, I was like, oh, wait, hold on a second. There's a lot of material here.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, we can do something with this. So then it evolved to the project we did last year. But it was because of that tree that was releasing all of those pods. And I was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And you know what's crazy? I went back the year after. I'm like, all right, this was the time. And I know by my pictures. I'm like, this was the time I was here. I was like, I have video footage, timestamps. None
this year.
This year, none. And not that I was going to do it again. I just wanted to see the spectacle again. None. So while I was I live in Miami Beach now. I moved to Miami Beach 5 years ago. So I'm always out and about, walking everywhere. The ocean, I walk a lot in the park. Well, while I was walking around the ocean, one day I see this humongous tree, sea grape tree. And it's literally raining leaves. And I don't know if you know about this tree, but it has huge leaves that are really big. So I love that tree. It's like the best shade ever. Yeah. The best breeze of the veg. They're perfect for the beach. You know? So that day I was walking with my dog and it was literally just like pouring leaves. I had never seen that. I'm like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
And then I will move and it just dawned on me. I said, this is it. This is going to be the tree and these are going to be the materials for this year's art project. Yeah. And that's how it is. You just have to go with the flow of what is happening because, you know, ideally what you want to do is gather what has been falling. I don't want to go plucking and taking things off of the trees, you know. Not that, I mean, it's okay, you know, because we do it for educational purpose and artistic. But the way I like to work is that because the land has so much to offer. It does. So I'm just walking around like, what is it that you want me to take? Yeah. What do you want us to create? Yeah. You know, so I've been collecting leaves for a year. It's almost going to be a year that's been going on that I've been collecting leaves because there's a lot of kids. So if I want them to create something, imagine I was like, okay, I want to do, it's going to be very beautiful. Strands with hanging leaves. But anyways, I'm like, all right, that's 4 leaves per student times 60 students. Yeah. Girl, do the math.
The math, yeah.
So I've been pressing them and drying them. Oh, yeah. And then there's a whole process. Yeah. That goes behind. So with these leaves, I have to dry them. Yeah. And I've had a lot of fails. Failed attempts on how to do it properly because, you know, you have to work with the elements. Apparently, my house is very humid because I live by the beach. So the first batch did not go well. And they've been doing a lot of batches, you know, so I've been practicing and it's awesome because it's a science project. The whole time I'm doing a project just to be able to get these materials to the students. So it's before the materials even get to the students, there's been a whole year of work that has been put into that's why last year I ended up doing a video for them.
I remember? Yes.
Because I was like, you know what? Like, I would like them to just get a glimpse, you know, they can't see a little something of the process that it took. And I think that's important in everything that we do is the process. Yeah. The process.
The journey to get to where we're at.
Yeah. And enjoying the journey. Yeah. Because that's a huge part of the whole experience. Yeah. You know, it's that journey. So I always have a lot of fun whenever we have nature art projects because of that journey. So now I'm also collecting sticks, by the way. So I want
it's a whole project.
I'll be coming over with like a really big stick. Those things that you look like a Neanderthal.
That's so funny. Well, that's exciting though.
So it's fun. I feel like a kid. I'm like, when did I ever think I was going to be collecting sticks, rocks, leaves, you know, for my job? Yeah.
But like, what a fun job.
It's awesome. Also, my house, you could just imagine what my house looks like.
Me too. I have the most random things. I'm like, what is my life?
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Well, Dilcia, to wrap up the podcast, we like to do a word of the day. And so I feel like we learned a lot today. So what would be your one word?
So then as I was driving over here, one phrase popped in my mind that I like to use because it's catchy and I want the students to remember this. Less screen time, more green time.
Well, you guys heard it here. Less screen time, more green time. Well, Dilcia, thank you so much for joining us again. Thank you for your time. I'm so excited for this summer. I feel like it's going to be one of the best summers. I don't know why. I just feel that way. So yeah, and hopefully I'm pretty sure you'll be back again.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
See you guys next week.
And as always, a special thanks to our sponsors, the Children's Trust and Trinity Church. And don't forget that there are 3 ways in which you can listen or watch this podcast. If you'd like to listen, follow us on Apple or Spotify. If you'd like to watch, follow us on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and click that bell for post notifications.
Steam Forward Podcast.